Let's move on more quickly to get to the next
good show so far, though,
bone of
right?
contention.
Would you agree?
So far, we're doing pretty good, but I got a lot of questions here.
Uh-oh.
Tony was with Britt Baker and Jamie Hayter talking about who's Soraya's partner going to be next week. Didn't Britt Baker basically come out and say Saraya doesn't understand what AEW is and what it means to us and our fans? And she just wanted to come in here and run things and, well, we're originals. And so they are baby faces and burying Saraya as about as deep as you can bury her with the fans. Is this on purpose? Do they know what they're doing? Is it Britt Baker knows what they're doing, but Saraya or Tony doesn't? Or it's a bizarre build to the unpopular new girl in town having a mystery partner next week, and we're on the side of the heels. Well, I don't know. Can we move on?
Please.
Okay, Bryan Danielson versus Tony Nese. And Danielson was over like crazy in his home state crowd, at least. And they had a good short match. Nese is a good athlete. They were going to use him at one point and never did, I guess. But Danielson had just enough of a match with him. He did all of his stuff the people wanted to see. He sold for the guy to not make him look like a complete asswipe, but he sold for a guy that's not presented as a main event star just long enough. And he beat him in just convincing fashion, and when just the match is what it should have been, and ended at the top of the 9 o'clock hour. Bravo. And then he gets the microphone for the in-ring promo. It's great to be home, and he's ready for another fight, and he calls out MJF. So now they got Bryan Danielson calling out MJF at the top of 9 o'clock Eastern. Okay, great. Old Michael Mansouri's doing a pretty good job, except for his audio guy, who probably got fired. And MJF comes out to the stage and immediately refuses to wrestle. And the story, he gets a big fat check whether he wrestles or not. And he's not a mark like Bryan Danielson. And basically, this program is probably above any others in the world talking to a smart audience. But basically, he's telling Danielson, you're a mark and you love to have these matches and get your body beat up. I don't care as long as I get a check how many times I wrestle. And, I have the star power. If Lance Storm and Dean Malenko had a love child, it would still have more charisma than you. And then MJF insinuated that Danielson's father was a goat because his mother could not find anyone to have any human suitors. And then Danielson started talking about the number of human suitors that MJF's mother has had. It's great. You believe both these guys because they're so natural in their delivery. If they had, in hindsight, as much business as they had to do on the other side of this, I believe I would have shortened up the goat fucking. Just a bit. And the people in the arena loved it, but you're serving your television master also. But it was fucking, you believe both of them, and you believe they're coming up with it on the sperm of the moment. But basically, MJF then says, well, Danielson, you think you're the best in the world. Who thinks that? The Mark journalists? Well, I'm touted as the best in the world by all the top names. Disco Inferno, Eric Bischoff, and the smartest of all of them, and my number one fan, Jim Cornette. And apparently I trended again on Twitter as a result of this. I found out the next morning. And amazingly, I got massive cheers. Brian, did you hear all the massive cheers I got? The people chanting, we want Corny, clap, 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 clap.
Oh, I didn't hear any of that. I heard a lot of boos.
Actually, it did sound something like, we have announced that all of your cars have been destroyed in the parking lot while you're in here. Oh, it sounded kind of like that. But anyway, they're going back and forth. So Danielson threatens to come up there and fight him, and MJF retreats to the announce position. And the fans start chanting, shut the fuck up. And again, I'm so entertained by both these guys, but I'm almost thinking about a chant of get to the point by this time. And so MJF reveals he's talked to Tony Khan. And if Danielson wrestles every week on TV and wins, he'll be the number one contender by February the 8th, and he'll face Danielson on March the 5th at Revolution, all these dates, I'm trying to jot them down. And MJF says, my way or no way. And then Danielson, he says, well, Sterling's a horrible lawyer. And MJF had mentioned his lawyer, Mark Sterling, will draw up a complaint or whatever. Please, MJF, please don't align yourself or mention this fucking guy again, because it's has the stench of grisly preliminary phony shit on it. But anyway, finally, Danielson agrees to it. If he can name the stipulation of the match on pay-per-view, a 1-hour Iron Man match, which was also almost like this 1-hour interview. And then the fans goad Maxi Pad into it, and he does a good job of shitting himself before he agrees to it, and says that, you know, Danielson will be like every other big opportunity. He'll choke, and Danielson says he's going to run through everybody and kick MJF's head in and expose him. And it took a while, and they're both very good at this. But I believe I would have tried to split this up into 2 parts if I had to do all that material at the same time. Either that or they should have got a little bit to the meat of the matter a little quicker. What do you think?
I mean, I was enjoying it, and I knew it was going on for a while, but I'm not going to complain because I wasn't yet bored with it, but it did go on a while.
And I mean, I love the mention, and, you know, I know that I'm an international superstar, but he could have glossed over that point and got to the business a little quicker if he had to, when they had so much back and forth to go through. What were you going to say?
Well, a couple of things. Let's talk about MJF mentioning you, because obviously a lot of people lost their minds over that, you being mentioned positively on AEW TV. What are your thoughts on it in general, and any issue being in the same breath as Disco Inferno and Eric Bischoff?
Well, I was about to say, you just contraindicated yourself there. You said I was mentioned in a positive way, and then at the same time I was grouped with Disco Inferno and Eric Bischoff. So, no, I mean, honestly, let's face it. MJF knows who's going to get heat with that audience, because I just talked about it. They're talking to the smartest audience probably of any. I'm not talking intelligence-wise. I'm talking about in the inner workings of the business, the smartest, quote-unquote, audience of any wrestling program. So those are the hot buttons. And there's obviously a reason why he mentioned me last. You always save the big pop for last. So Again, I am his number one fan. So he didn't tell a lie, and I don't mind him bandying my name around for a moment of heat from the rabble. So that's more than fine. But to be grouped in with, you know, the other guy, well, you know, I guess sometimes we got to put up with these things. What was the other part of your question?
What are your thoughts on the use of, let's just say the one word he used, mark, but I mean, you talk about inside terms being used, but specifically marks being used now more than before, and he used it several times here. What do you think?
You know, again, it's the smartest audience, and they know these terms, but then the problem becomes that a lot of times, whether the heel's saying it or the babyface saying it, it's kind of true. A lot of these guys do have a big element of markishness in them. And, again, I think there's always a way to say the same thing that you're saying to the smart audience to everybody, where everybody can understand it. You don't just say, Bryan Danielson, you're a mark. You want to come out here and wrestle and risk your life all the time. You say, Bryan Danielson, you're an egomaniac. You want the attention. You want the spotlight. You want to come out here and wrestle. You're doing damage to your body every time you get in there, because wrestling is a dangerous sport. But you do it for free. Hell, you'd pay to do it, just to be able to go out there and hear the cheers from all these idiots that think you're something special. Well, I don't care about them, and I don't care about my art. I care about my bank account. So all you are is just an egotist looking for cheers and glory and gratification from all these goofballs, and I'm trying to make money and do as little damage to myself in the process as I can. You just talked to the smart fans, but you didn't say mark. You didn't use inside terms. And the guy becomes a heel because he can get away with working less hard than one of his co-workers because of his status or his contract or whatever. And that always gets heat with people, right?
It should. Beyond the actual performance of MJF, if we're going just based on audience reaction, is it even crazier now than it was a few weeks ago that there was a push to turn him babyface?
Again, it didn't take 2 weeks to get people back in the right place. Remember, I thought it would even take him a while because he'd have to go and switch every live crowd individually, but they watch the TV. They're the faithful, so they've kept up with it. The momentary diversion can now be taken as he purposely put himself in the sympathetic position to gain people's trust to ultimately screw everybody, especially William Regal, and get the fucking prize that he wanted. So he is a full-fledged heel again. But no, it's no surprise to me that he was able to turn the people. It was a surprise to me that anybody couldn't see that it was way premature and bad for his development to put him in a babyface position against heels for any length of time at this stage of his career. Now we'll move on.
Well, things are right in the universe. And again, I'll repeat what I said earlier. So far, after 9 o'clock here, by and large, I'm enjoying Dynamite again.